There we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers take care of business tonight against some familiar faces. Basically, Gary Trent Jr., Rodney Hood, and the Toronto Raptors. This was a good win to get against a team that had been struggling. It was a game the Blazers should have won. They had the more talented lineup on the floor tonight, and they showed it by getting this victory. I'm not muted. I see you're trolling, CJ. That's a 5-minute ban.
Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, Eric's completely fine. You're trolling me. Anybody, bro? I feel okay, chat. I saw the comment before. Odds are that there's someone muted to start this stream, so of course you guys are gonna troll it. But yeah, anybody that trolls and says I'm muted, that's a 5-minute ban. So CJ the GOAT, there you go. Yeah, anyway. So what's going on? Hope your guys' days are going well. The Blazers take care of business. I know a lot of you Duck fans are going to be paying attention to this Ducks game. Hopefully you can pay attention to that Ducks game and this post-game show if you are watching that game. I got you, Brad. There you go. So we're going to dive into what the Blazers did tonight. We're going to talk about the defensive effort they gave forth in the second half, which was much better than it was in the first half, especially the first quarter. That first quarter was frustrating. I can't with you guys. I cannot with you guys right now. Yeah, we're going to talk about the good defense in the second half. We'll talk about the offense. We'll talk about Norman Powell. We'll talk about everything. So this intro has been completely disjointed. So Eric, maybe you can salvage it a little bit and just tell me what you thought of tonight's game.
Once again, we've come out victorious, so it's always good. 3-0 start to this road trip with the Pistons, our last remaining game. So this is a great opportunity to go 4-0. Just make this comment right now, get it out of the way. I don't want to hear after the next game, oh, but we went 3-1 on this road trip. It's fine. No, I want them to say, I want to go 4-0 on this trip, and I want them to be mad if they do not take care of business. So let's get this done on the next game and not, come up with a bunch of cliche answers afterwards. But, yeah, overall, this game, I thought they played awful, especially in the first quarter. They played really well in the second half, had some really good individual performances when we break down the players, and I would just say it's good to have Nurk back, too.
Yeah, Nurkic was a much better option on the court than Kanter tonight. The stat sheet might not reflect that, but just offensively, Nurkic was a much better option to have out there on the court. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I like the way they defended in the second half, especially the third quarter. Honestly, not even the second half, Eric, because I just looked at things. They give up 33 in the fourth quarter. But that third quarter stands out like crazy, man. You look at the points the Toronto Raptors scored during this game. The Raptors had 41 in the first, 33 in the second, 10 in the third, and 33 in the fourth. That's kind of crazy to see that. That third quarter won us this game. We got outscored in the first by 9, outscored in the fourth. We only won the second by 3. But we won the third quarter by 13 points. We didn't even score the ball well in that third quarter. That's the thing. We only put up 23 points of our own. The other 3 quarters, we had more than 30. But we still won that quarter by 13 points despite struggling more offensively in the third quarter than we did in pretty much any other quarter. That's because our defense stepped up, the intensity stepped up, and this team looked like a good defensive team. I expect more of that. I don't expect that for one quarter. I want to see more of that. I want to see that type of defense more consistently. I want to see that type of effort more consistently. It does help having Nurkic back, but we've seen spurts in the past of this team being able to have a good defensive quarter. I want to see him be more consistent. We haven't seen that consistency yet this season, and this game kind of reflects that.
Yeah, and there's 2 major reasons from that, which I'll get to in a minute. Let me get these donos out of the way. JM with the $5 donation. Thanks, man. What's up? He says, every Stotts fan should pay attention to this game and notice the difference between a great coach who maximizes his players versus Stotts who minimizes them. Yeah, I don't know. Nurse is kind of at a disadvantage. He doesn't even have a big man as good as Kanter right now on his roster. I guess Boucher is playing well, but he's
Boucher's better
not.
than Kanter. I'd say he's better than Kanter.
What I meant is like to run his normal stuff, and Boucher is kind of. I mean, he's not undersized, but like I don't know. I don't consider him like a true center, if that makes sense. But like overall, he doesn't have a lot of, especially missing Lowry again tonight. They're obviously not necessarily going for it this season, and I thought he kind of coached that way tonight. But overall, just this. I don't know if tonight was the greatest example of coaching because, I mean, they made a lot of mistakes as well. But I think we're seeing our team is just so well-rounded with the addition of Norman Powell that there's just so many options. We saw 7 people score in double figures tonight. The 2 that didn't and played, but I thought 8 and 7. So, like, everyone contributed. I felt like everyone played well that played. And, it's going to be tough if we do the right things on both ends to beat this team, which makes it frustrating when we don't see that and we have horrible schemes like we had in the first half of this game.
Yeah, I mean, we come out of the game and, I mean, especially with Kanter in the game, the main defensive possession that just kind of got me frustrated about the way we were guarding things was we come out and we just run drop scheme against Van Vliet. He walks into a 3, right? Mm-hmm. We were too conservative at times with what we run schematically and just in terms of our intensity, too. I feel like, I don't know, the intensity definitely was ratcheted up there in the third quarter. I just wonder sometimes if we came out in a more aggressive scheme, if we just play more intense defensively in general. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder if just kind of sitting back and drop scheme and letting them attack you kind of mentally makes it hard for us to be the aggressors, so to say.
It's hard to have energy that way. I agree with that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that maybe that's part of the reason why you see these wanes in energy. I mean, I don't know. Like we saw a little more aggressiveness at the point of attack on pick and rolls in the third quarter. I thought that helped, but it was mostly just guys staying in front. We weren't giving up straight line drives, and when we were, the help side defense was absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? So it didn't even necessarily matter if we were giving up drives. It seemed like every time we did, it was literally perfect help side rotations and rotating out to shooters and just sort of the fundamental little things that we've talked about all season long were on point, as well as us just being more solid on the ball and being a little bit more aggressive at the point of attack. It's funny how that can turn a defense that gave up 43 in the first quarter and 33 in the second quarter, which is 74 first half points, and then the third quarter only gives up 10 just because of that. That's how drastic of a difference those little things add up into, and you know, it's I thought it was pretty obvious.
And then you combined everything you just said with Stotts and Nurk's comments after last game, and I think it's pretty telling what's happening with this team, and that you're 100% right. Both of us have been saying this since we started Blazers Uprise, that the defense needs to be more aggressive, or this is going to be the result. We're in a league where you have to pressure the ball. You cannot. When Boucher came in and we were having Kanter 10 feet behind the pick and roll, and what is the guard supposed to do in that situation? If he gets through the pick, then Van Vliet's just going to hand it to Boucher and he's going to be wide open and Kanter doesn't have enough time to catch back up. If he doesn't get through the pick, then like you said, Van Vliet just walks into an open 3. It's like the worst possible scheme you could run again when those two are running a pick and roll, and we did it like 10 times in the first half. It didn't make any sense, and I don't understand why an NBA coach who, oh, you guys aren't coaches, you don't know better than him, right? Like, how does he not see that this is like not working, like to do that? Like, at least try to pressure the ball and get the ball out of their hands or something, because no matter what Kanter does in that situation, he's screwed if he's that far away from a great pop shooter like Boucher, and a guy who can come off the pick and roll and do multiple things like Van Vliet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely okay. The scheme, some of the scheme things we did in the first half didn't make sense. I'm trying to focus on the positives in the third quarter. What was the difference there scheme wise that you saw?
Well, Nurk was blowing up the pick and rolls. He was keeping guys in front of him. He had a couple of possessions where he had great help defense, like you mentioned, along with other players. And then when he went out in his shift, Robert Covington, it was basically all just hustle by him, saved multiple possessions, got his hands on a lot of balls. And I felt like those two in particular really spurred that effort. And then you combine that with the personnel of all of a sudden having a Powell who's not falling asleep off ball, or some of the other guys like Derrick Jones when he came in, except for biting on a pump fake at the end of the game when they need a three. That wasn't good. But other than that, he came in and was part of that defensive rotation that all of a sudden he doesn't have as much pressure on him when Nurk's doing it. And then just the fact that Nurk, because unlike Kanter, Nurk did a great job of, even when he got the mismatch and the guard tried to take him, he would just keep the guy in front of him without fouling. And that's just a complete difference maker if you're pressuring and not giving up a three, but you're also not letting that guard drive on you either. And I thought Nurk came out in that third quarter super aggressive and set the tone for us.
Yeah, and seeing Nurkic play that way, at the point of attack, handle the pick and roll that way, get out and move his feet. He's good at hedging screens. He's good at trapping screens. He can drop. He's decent at being a dropping big as well. But just seeing the way he attacked those screens, and then when you have a guy like a Norman Powell who can play really aggressive on the ball, having a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. who can play aggressive on the ball, and having a guy like Rocco who can pretty much do anything defensively, there's no reason we should be sitting back, dropping the big, not helping with the screen, and letting guys walk into threes. We should be aggressive. We have the defense personnel to be aggressive, and honestly, just with those guys that I mentioned, we should be a borderline top 10 defense with 3 of those 4 guys in the lineup. Maybe if you have,
with certain rotations.
Yeah. Maybe if you have a couple, if you only have Nurkic and Derrick Jones Jr. in, but then you also have Melo and Amfredy and CJ or something, then yeah, that's not going to be a top 10 defense. But if you have 3 of Powell, Derrick Jones Jr., Nurkic, and Rocco in the game, it should play like a borderline top 10 defense if you run the right schemes, if you do the right things defensively. And I thought the third quarter really showcased that. Really showcased that, because we had good defensive minutes with Kanter in there even, because of some of the things that the other guys were doing. I'm not necessarily crediting Kanter with that. We just had some good defensive minutes with him in the lineup there in the third quarter. It's not like him being in the lineup completely screws our defense over, at least in my opinion. So, you just got to have, with those 4 guys, it would be nice to try and keep at least 2 of them on the floor at the same time. And then be more aggressive in terms of our defense, because we've sat back and played conservative for far too long, in my opinion. It hasn't worked. You see what our defense is ranked this year. You see what it was ranked last year. It hasn't worked. But when this team starts playing aggressive, sure, it might give up an open 3 here or there, but it seems like they buy in more, they play more intense, and they're much better defensively. So that's what I want to see going forward. Sure, there's some situations where you can run drop, and it makes sense to run drop in specific situations, but it shouldn't be, something that is our base scheme. It shouldn't be something that we're constantly doing. And I think this third quarter, the way we played defensively, showed why that shouldn't be our primary scheme that we run 80-90% of the time.
Yep, and another thing I noticed in the third quarter versus the first half was, in the first half, we were doing the opposite of what we should be doing on a lot of pick and rolls. So if you're guarding Van Vliet and you're getting screened, we were going under the pick, and he was getting too much space to shoot that 3. And then if you're guarding Siakam and you're getting screened, you're going over the pick, and then he's driving to the basket because you're trailing him. and that's like you want to do the opposite. And then I felt like in the third quarter, for the most part, on every pick and roll, we played it the right way. So just little things like that can make the difference between having a good defensive quarter and a terrible defensive quarter. And it's something that we've been talking about too. Is like these guys aren't seemingly taught the right thing to do in these situations. So it was nice to see them actually do the right things at some point in this game, because it did not start off this game looking like it was going to be a game where we were going to win with our defense in any quarter. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see in that third quarter they were actually going over the picks on Van Vliet and under the picks on Siakam. And honestly, Siakam is one of those players you're talking about where he's shooting like 30% from three this year. You can drop on him if he's the guy shooting, and sure, he's going to make an occasional three, but for the most part, most of his threes he made are off of kickouts, not necessarily handling the ball and stepping into a three.
Well, for him, it's not even running drop, because drop, generally, you go over the screen and then you drop the big back. With him, you just go under the screen at this point, given how he struggled with the three ball off the dribble so far this season. I mean, he's struggled with his three ball in general, but he's a better shooter off the catch than off the dribble. So at that point, you just go under screens, and the big is drop just because you already have the guard staying in front of the ball anyways. So, I mean, Siakam had some moments, but let me see his stat line here. Siakam was 2 for 3 from 3 on a couple of kickouts. He did have 26 points, 8 for 16 from the field, but I felt like we did a really good job of making it tough on him for the most part. I felt like the other guys generally had some easy looks there, especially during the first half. Fred VanVleet got some easy looks, and you look at VanVleet's line, he didn't shoot efficiently, but I felt like we made it harder on a guy like Siakam, who did have a good night. He had a good night in spite of it. I felt like we defended him pretty well, but other guys like Anunoby got a lot of wide open shots in this game. VanVleet got some open shots in this game. Rodney Hood, it feels weird to talk about him on an opposing team, man. Rodney Hood got some open shots and was 2 for 5 from 3. You look at the 3 he hit at the end of the first half, just completely wide open. He had some good moments. So happy to see him do well in a loss for the Raptors. I wasn't rooting for him to do well because I want us to win, but the fact that we won, okay, cool. It was nice to see him have a decent game, but we were giving him open shots too. So, I don't know. You can't just look at the box score there and determine the defense that was played on each of these guys, because I felt like the guy we defended the best was probably Siakam, but he still ended up having the best game for them.
And while we're talking about other players, let me get to this $2 donation from Spacely Sprockets. What's up, man? He says, sad to see Gary Trent Jr. in a baby dinosaurs jersey. We'll get to that in a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are on Gary Trent Jr., but back to your point on the defense real quick. So the thing about guarding Siakam in the pick and roll is he only took 3 threes, right? How many threes did VanVleet shoot?
VanVleet shot 10.
Yeah, so like Siakam's not necessarily looking for the 3 out of the pick and roll situation. He's looking to get to the rim. So with those type of players, you want to play them differently than a VanVleet who's looking to get open and shoot a 3 if that's what you give him. So I felt like even though he did get to the rim, it's like you said, I felt like we played him well despite his numbers overall. I agree with that.
Yep. So what offensively, how did you feel about our offense this game?
I mean, it's hard to complain. Once again, we score 122 points, we have the 6th best defense, right? It's I don't like Powell only getting 6 shots.
I want to talk about that, but I want to save it for his player card.
I felt like our shot selection, in particular our guards, was not great in this game. Once again, we got a lot of offensive rebounds and stuff like that. The fourth quarter, especially, I felt like we kind of went back into conservative mode where it's just ISOs and pick and rolls and stuff, and we weren't really running any sets to get shooters open or anything. So I'm hoping they watch film and look at those possessions, and even though CJ can make incredible plays, even if he had been struggling up to that point, like we need to find a way to get better shots down the stretch of these games versus Dame and CJ having to make incredibly tough ones. But other than that, I mean, like I said, we scored 122, so I can't, I guess, complain too much.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the movement was solid for...
First quarter was, I thought.
Yeah, for big portions of this game, I felt like, some of the action we were running was solid. We definitely had some moments of stagnation and isolation, but we've had far worse games in that regard. Where we've just been super stagnant all game long. So, I don't know, with Nurkic coming back, I feel like when he was in the game, we moved the ball better and moved players better. I want to still make his playmaking a bigger part of the offense than we've seen in his limited time since he's returned, but he's still ramping up. He only played 19 minutes tonight, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But I don't know. Overall, it's like when Nurkic coming back, we tend to move a little bit more with Nurkic in the lineup. So I'm kind of just waiting for him to start playing his regular allotment of minutes to really have an opinion on what lineups, including Nurkic, look like in terms of moving the ball.
Mm-hmm. I got distracted by something Reese sent me. Or something.
Yeah. Sorry. What Reese sent you?
He's still on that comparing Vucevic and Nurkic from 2018-19 thing. So
why is that even a thing right now?
I don't know. It's just a thing with Reese. Sorry, I got distracted for a second.
All right. Well, I got 2 more graphics to make. If you got anything else team wise.
Yeah, I mean, Dame was great passing the ball in the first quarter. Like you said, ball movement I thought was pretty good at times. Like to see that go throughout the game because I felt like most of the rest of the game it wasn't that way. I do want to feature Nurk up top a little more, like as a ball handler. Especially there was a time where Nurk was in the game with like Stanley Johnson guarding him. And those are possessions where I feel like we should run through Nurk, and if they send the double team, Nurk is a great passer, so he can find open guys out of those double teams. So I'd like to utilize that a little more, not necessarily having to have him score out of the low block, but just just get in a position to take advantage of mismatches a little more on that end.
Yep, I agree. Let's hop into the players a little bit fast for that, but you want to thank Maurice because Maurice left a dono that I'm looking at right here. I count on Eric to read off the donos in the first 20 minutes since I'm making the player graphics and whatnot.
What's up, Maurice Fenton? How you doing, man? He had the €5 donation. Thanks, and then it says Robert Covington or Robert covers everything. That's funny. Yeah, he was phenomenal both on the glass and on the defensive end tonight, and we'll get to his scoring in a minute when we get to his player card, but thanks for the dono.
Yep, here you guys go. You got CJ McCollum, who took over the game late there. He had some questionable plays in this game where it was like, what are you doing? Oh, man, but you still look at the thing, and it's a good performance, right? He had, 2 steals and 3 blocks. Unless I read off somebody else's stat line. I need to double check that. He had 2 steals and 3 blocks. That's not a typo.
That one on Van Vliet towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Since coming back, he's been okay defensively, I think. I don't know. There hasn't been any defensive mistakes where it's just bro, what are you doing? And you look at this, 2 steals, 3 blocks. That's 5. I like adding those up. That's 5 total between steals and blocks. That's really good. That's really good, especially for a guard. CJ McCollum is a good shot-blocking guard. It's kind of weird. Our guards are, bad defensively, but Damian Lillard is a good low-post defending guard. It's, the one area he's, really good defensively in. And then CJ McCollum's, a good shot blocker for a guard. It's kind of weird that those are, their 2 strengths are those specific things. But I mean, you look at this. I don't know. I wanted to put his defensive stats in there, so I didn't put his 3-point shooting. He shoots 1 for 7 from 3, right? So he didn't have a good night shooting from the 3-point line, but he was 8 for 11 inside the arc, which is extremely efficient inside the arc. You know, he might have forced a few threes, but I felt like his shot selection inside the arc was pretty solid. He was able to get to the rim a couple of times. He was able to get to his floater. There wasn't really anything inside the arc where I felt like he was forcing. Got to the line 4 times, which is above average for CJ McCollum, believe it or not. Knocked down all 4 of his free throws. Also got 5 assists. So you look at things statistically, like he had a good game by every measure, is, you know, other than maybe forcing a few threes. He only had 1 turnover to go with those 5 assists as well. But there was like a couple of shots, a couple of plays where he was just like, what are you doing? And everybody was like getting mad at him. And then it's like you look at the box score afterwards and he had a good game, you know? I feel like the one play that stands out was the 3-point floater he tried early in the shot clock that got blocked. The one-legged 3-point.
One-legged, yeah.
What
was that? I don't. That was so bad.
I hope somebody asks him in his post-game interview. So what was the one-legged 3-point runner that got blocked? What were you trying to pass it? Like, I would assume he's trying to pass. I don't know why you would shoot a shot like that. That made no sense to me.
Yeah, that was really bad. And then the one he forced trying to get a foul in the second half, Dame did the same, but luckily caught the ball somehow. But yeah, those are 2 bad shots. And yeah, I felt like most of his shots throughout the game weren't great until like we need a bucket and our offense is stagnant. And who do we have to break down the defense one-on-one and get buckets? It's CJ McCollum, and that's why we need him, because our offense is not skilled enough to get a easy basket or anything for these guys in those clutch situations. So we need Dame to hit like a 30-footer, or we need CJ to break his guy down and hit a mid-range floater, or cross someone over. And unless we get that, we probably lose the game, because he took over for like 3 possessions in a row there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and this is why I hate the argument that like, oh, they're too similar offensively, they kind of cancel each other out. When Dame is struggling, like, we're kind of screwed. The thing is, when CJ was out, Dame played insane and clutched up pretty much every opportunity he got. That's why our record was fine without CJ. We were also playing mediocre to bad teams, but that's beside the point I'm trying to make. But Dame has struggled lately shooting the ball, okay? And without CJ, we're probably losing this game, okay? Now, if we ran better offense, then we could, you know, Dame could struggle shooting the ball, and I feel like we could get better shots for a guy like Melo, who was 4 for 12 tonight. Or we could get, you know, Simons hit a 3 and then got a couple shots off the dribble. You know, he'd be playing more minutes. We could get some better 3-point looks than he usually gets for him. So, you know, it's not necessarily saying like, oh, well, you know, it's just injuries, man. That's why you need CJ. If he's injured, there's nothing you can do. My whole point is, with the offense that we run and how stagnant and ISO heavy it is, it saves us time and time again having a second guy who is elite in terms of isolation scoring. Okay, because when Dame doesn't have it going, which he didn't tonight, he was, let's see what he shot. He'll be up next, but he was 7 for 21 from the field. With him not going, you need somebody you could just give the ball to and isolate, because we don't have enough structure within our offense or enough, you know, sets, enough set diversity to be able to run team offense down the stretch, you know? I mean, we could easily do it if that was a part of the way we were coached, but we don't. So we need that second guy who we can just give the ball to and get out of the way while he goes and creates buckets out of nothing. And CJ did that tonight, taking over this game late.
Yep, and the hope is now we add Powell, and he can maybe do that too. Occasionally get a bucket when we need to. Didn't explore that option at all tonight. But yeah, now that we have hopefully 3 scorers now that can all get buckets. So if our offense is going to be stagnant like it was in the fourth, then hopefully between one of those 3, they can make enough plays to win a game. And CJ was that guy tonight.
Yep. So overall, solid. Yeah, a couple head scratching plays that people who don't like CJ's game will over exaggerate and make into a huge deal. But overall, he's been playing decent defense since coming back. This type of game, he's still, distributing at a decent level. 5 assists here, some defensive plays, the 2 steals, the 3 blocks, the efficiency, the takeover ability late. Good to have CJ back on the floor. Next guy we got Dame, 22 points. As I said, he struggled from the field, 7 for 21 for those 22 points, 2 for 7 from the 3-point line. He did have 11 assists. 10 of those were in the first half. 9 of those was in the first quarter. So he had 9 assists in the first quarter, Eric. 2 assists the final 3 quarters. I thought that was kind of interesting. Because it's not like our scoring really fell off a whole lot. So I don't know. I don't know what the cause of that was. Maybe it was CJ getting hot and him, standing out of the way. I don't know, man. If anybody in chat has a theory as to why he had 9 assists in the first quarter and 2 assists the final 3, post it if you have an idea. But overall, I mean, the playmaking was there. Had some plays defensively tonight that made you kind of a little upset. I don't know. Dame obviously gets more of a pass than anybody because of all the energy expense offensively, but he has to be better on the defensive end. Now, with CJ back, he shouldn't have to expel as much energy on offense, but coinciding with CJ coming back, he's had the bruised knees, so he's been a little bit hurt. So, once he's not quite so banged up, I want to see him really take it upon himself to be better on the defensive end. Overall, his shooting numbers, I don't know if that's because of the knee thing he's dealing with. When he's been banged up in the past, he's had some tough shooting games, and then once he seems to get healthier, then he'll come out and drop 50. So I think these upcoming 2 days off will help him for sure. I don't know. Overall, he still, hit a clutch 3 there in the fourth, a deep 3, distributed well, but not the Damian Lillard game we're accustomed to.
Yeah, I thought the one assist that really stood out to me, actually there were 2. The one was the one where he kind of drove and had a little wraparound dump off pass to Kanter for a lay-in, which Kanter kind of bobbled and thankfully caught. But the one that really stood out to me was Norman Powell streaking down the floor. Dame launches it up to him, and he gets a layup out of it. With the way our offense is and how many contested shots we take to get an easy bucket like in that manner, I thought was a really, really cool thing to see. And I hope that's something that as they get used to playing with each other, maybe we saw that with Ariza a few times when he came over too, where he would just leak out after a made bucket, knowing that teammates were going to get the rebound, and you just kick it out to ahead to him. And it's something that we don't do much. I would love to see that exploited a little more.
Yep. Let's move on and talk about Derrick Jones Jr., the third guy. Okay, I'm down to bring him off the bench if he has performances like this, Eric. I made the case for him retaining his starting spot, but tonight he was terrific.
Yeah, man. Getting to the rim. Getting to the rim. That's what I like to see, whether it's dunking or layups or whatever. I like to see him attacking the glass. I think most of his threes came later after his flurry of scoring in the paint. So I was like, no, don't shoot threes, even though he made one. It's like, go inside still, attack. But this is better. That we talked. You bring this up almost every game. His percentage of 3-point shots to overall field goals, 33%. Mm-hmm. I will take that over the 50% or more than 50% we've been seeing recently out of him. And I thought he came in with the right mindset. You'd love to see that. Someone not necessarily pouting, but not playing their best because they got benched or whatever. This wasn't necessarily a demotion. It's just trying to work out which lineups are best with the team now. And I think he was just great. He was cutting, he was doing things we've been asking him to do, and I like that he wasn't just camped out of the 3-point line for most of the game.
Yeah, and for me it's not like, if he's shot, 3 shots and 2 of them are threes. If he has a wide open 3, he should pass it up, right?
Right,
Basically,
right.
it's just I want him to be utilized as a cutter more, and be utilized on the fast break more. But instead, he's utilized as a spot up shooter for the most part, and that's kind of reflected in how many threes like 50% of his field goals lately have been threes, maybe more than that. So tonight, I mean, you 7 for 9, 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. That's 33%. That's about what he's shooting on the season. But some impressive finishes, man. That 360 finish and one was something else, man. That was impressive. He knocked down that free throw as well. He was a scorer tonight, and he only played 21 minutes. So this 16-point effort is coming in 21 minutes. That's about half, a little bit more than half the minutes that Dame played and CJ played. They got 22, 23. So you could make the case that he was the most impressive scorer tonight for the Blazers.
Per minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But if you take the minutes into account, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if he can adjust to this bench role, if he's comfortable in this bench role, cool. I'm cool with that. It sounds like it might be a situational thing. We'll have to wait and see on if he's like permanently on the bench and Powell's the permanent starter, or if it's kind of a situational thing. But overall, very pleased with how he handled coming off the bench today.
Yeah, I mean, other than I think there was two times that I can remember that he had kind of a bad foul where he shouldn't have gotten caught in the air. But other than that, I thought his defense was really good. And like I said, offensively, as long as he's attacking the basket, I'm not going to complain about his game at all.
Yep. Next guy we got Rocco, who also had a great game. 4 for 11 from the field. Isn't too efficient, but he's 3 for 8 from 3. That's 38%. He was 1 for 3 inside the arc. Now, a couple of his missed threes, he got the offensive rebound on. There was 2 specifically that he followed his own shot and got a rebound. One he then missed a floater off of, but he was cleaning up for a couple of the shots that he did miss. But defensively, 4 blocks, 3 steals on the boards, 12 rebounds. This is just the perfect example of a Rocco game where, he might not have shot the ball the best, but he had an impact in every area of the game in a positive manner. I thought he was phenomenal tonight defensively. Phenomenal defensively.
And it was one of those games where, someone could have 12 rebounds, but the ball just kind of bounces to them several times. Like, if you're a consistent good rebounder, that's not always the case. But, like, a game like this where Covington could have just been right place, right time, right? But I felt like almost all 12 of those rebounds were him, like, just hustling and, like, that missed shot that you talked about. He knew where it was going to bounce off and got to the spot before the Raptors did. And just several hustle plays where he could have easily just ran back to the other end, and instead he like dug out and caused. There was a couple where he didn't get credit for a rebound, but the guy like fumbled it out of bounds or whatever. There was one play where Melo missed two easy shots and then turned around and started like complaining or something, and then Rocco almost like stole the ball, and if Melo would have still been there, he might have had a chance to grab it or whatever. But yeah, just plays like that. Robert Covington was all over the place tonight, and I loved his effort level. Obviously, 4 for 11. You look at it on paper, it's not great, but one of those two was our first possession. We almost had a shot clock violation, and he caught the ball towards the end of the shot clock and had to drive to the basket and try to make a runner. So yeah, I didn't really have a huge problem with his shot selection, even though he went 4 for 11. But overall, this is several good games in a row now from Covington, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah. Next guy we got Norm. We got to talk about this. 13 points, 3 rebounds, a steal. Was 3 for 6 from the field. Was 1 for 2 from the 3-point line. Missed a couple. Let me check his free throw shooting on this one. He was 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Normally he's a better free throw shooter than that. Missed 2 free throws in the final minute, then ripped his jersey. That was funny. But overall, I felt like he was a bit invisible tonight. He had that steal on Gary Trent Jr. with a fast break dunk. Yeah. That was cool. But during the fourth quarter, especially in the final 7-8 minutes that he was in the game, we're just parking the dude in the corner, and he didn't. I don't know if he touched the ball. I don't know if he touched the ball in the final 7-8 minutes. He's just sitting there in the corner.
I think there was one time where he got a rebound and brought the ball up and then passed to someone, and he was calling for the ball back, but he never went back. I think that was the only time I can remember him.
Yeah, I hope this is just him being new to the system. You cannot take a guy who's been averaging 20 points per game, shooting 55% inside the arc, 45% behind the arc, 86% from the free throw line, to get those 20 points efficiently. A guy who can cut really well, finish really well for a guard, shoot the lights out of the ball, okay? You cannot trade for this guy and then stick him in the corner and he doesn't touch the ball for 8 minutes in a row.
Well, here's the deal, though. Because he's 54% or something like that from the corners, right? Automatic, basically. So, I understand wanting to get him corner threes. So the problem becomes the way our offense is designed to go ISO and pick and roll. We weren't attacking on the side that Powell was. So his defender never had to help off of him in any situation. So if you're going to park him in the corners, you need to have a player, some sort of setup to where the penetration is coming right in between his man and the man guarding the ball. That way he either has to help off of him, and if he does, you kick out to the corner and you get an open three. Or if he doesn't, that lane for Dame or CJ is open to the basket to drive because the help wasn't there. And we had him parked on the weak side corner away from the ball most of the time, and that's really hard unless you drive baseline to get a pass all the way to the opposite corner.
Yeah. It's just, as a spot-up shooter, that's fine having him in the corner, but you got to have something for him. The dude's a 20-point-per-game scorer. You got to have a design cut. You got to run him to the ball and, give him a chance to create. This dude, when he gets hot, can be just as good of a scorer as CJ or Dame. You know what I mean? When he's hot, right? Now, obviously, Dame, when he's hot, is better than Norman Powell when he's hot. I'm just saying, when Norman Powell's hot, he is a very high-level scorer. You gotta at least give him the chance to get hot. That's all I'm saying. You gotta give him a chance. You gotta run a couple things for him and see if he can, run him off a screen for a three. If he's not getting shots in the corner because they're staying out on him. If he knocks that down, run something else for him. You got this third 20-point-per-game scorer that is super efficient. You gotta utilize that more than just sticking him in the corner and he touches the ball once over the course of 8 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and this is once again a basic play that we've talked about before, but you can start him off in one corner and just run him off a pick going to the opposite corner. Sometimes he'll be open, sometimes he won't, but at least you're having some action to get him open. So yeah, I don't understand, like you said, just having him stand there and not having anything designed to get that guy going when he's that lethal of a shooter.
I agree.
Especially before the point where CJ made those 3 shots in a row, what were we doing? I don't even know what we were doing on offense for stretches. We weren't getting good shots. We weren't, those guys were kind of struggling. So why not give Norm a chance to get a bucket when that's the whole reason to get a guy like that is because he can get you a bucket if those guys need help. And, so yeah, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't even try that, but we won, so I won't harp on it too much.
Yep. Let's move on and talk about Yusuf Nurkic. I'm gonna put the minutes on the graphic until he's doesn't have a minutes restriction, right? Just because I feel like people were interested in it. 19 minutes that he played tonight. Scored 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 for 7 from the field, 1 for 2 from the 3-point line. That second 3-point shot hit back rim, was a close miss, which, obviously a miss is a miss, but he's the type of guy who'll make a 3 and then he'll miss really badly. So I want to see him become, that's not a good sign for consistent shooting going forward. So I think it's, focusing on the misses is a little bit important. Obviously the efficiency, but then if he's missing. Is he missing close, or is he way off like he has been in the past? But nice to see him hit a 3. 10 points in 19 minutes is good. 4 rebounds. It felt like he had more than that. Let me double check that and make sure I got that right. Yeah, 4 rebounds. Right, yeah. Felt like he had a bigger impact on the boards, but had a block and 2 assists. You know, he's still rounding back into shape, but I thought he had some impressive defensive moments, sliding his feet. I don't think that play where they called a foul on him defending in the corner against Van Vliet, I don't think that was a foul. I think Van Vliet basically created that foul on his own. He was impressive sliding his feet, though, on that play.
Yeah, maybe just a little over-aggressive, but overall, I like the aggressiveness. I'm not going to, even if it's a little much, I thought it was the right play to do there.
Just trap there, you know, where he can, like, cut off the sideline and isn't worried about being middle. Because that's the thing. It's like, if he in that situation, if he plays too much to the sideline, guard's just going to cross over and beat him middle. Since he's kind of by himself out there. If you have the guard trailing Van Vliet over the screen and they're trapping, okay, they're like the guard isn't going to be able to go middle. Nurkic is going to be able to cut off the sideline, and that's a great place to trap. There on the sideline, that's a great place to trap because they can't back dribble to escape it because the sideline's there. Everything is like, you know, the ball's on one side of the floor, so any relief option is going to be, you know, across the floor, so it's going to be hard to space guys out properly where you're guaranteed to have an outlet out of the trap. Yeah, I mean, I just want to see us trap on the sidelines. I mean, we did it last game in his first game back, and it resulted in a turnover. Now, that was him just going rogue, but it resulted in a turnover. It was on the sideline. I want to see us do that on the sideline.
And for those that haven't played like organized basketball, so they always talk about the sidelines or the half-court line once you cross it being a third defender. So if you pressure him and trap him in that situation, like Tori says, not only do you have the 2 guys trapping, but he has nowhere to go because the third defender is the out-of-bounds mark. And if you have the right rotations and play the passing lanes of the guys that he has the angles to pass to, he's got nowhere to pass to in those situations. It usually results in a turnover, or he'd have to like throw the ball off someone's leg and try to recover the possession or whatever.
Yeah, the only way he can go there to escape would be to dribble back up towards half court,
right,
to escape the trap. But then you easily recover and you completely have blown up the play. And wasted shot clock for them.
And the shot clock's running down. Yeah, so I thought, I mean, we can get into this more later, but he seemed to say that it was him going rogue when he traps, and I want to see him go rogue all the time if that's the case. And but this is the problem. So I sent out this tweet during the game. So there was a 5-minute stretch where Nurk played absolutely perfect defense. I thought he did everything right. He had several good helps. He had several show and recovers on those picks and got back to his guy quickly. He had several possessions where he trapped like really well. He had several possessions where he got switched onto a guard and kept them in front and forced them into a tough runner or lay-in, and they missed almost every time. The problem is, if that's not your overall game plan and you're going rogue, the rest of the team doesn't know what to do when you do that. So it led to other players being open and situations where they got easy buckets, even though Nurk did 100% the right thing. The rest of the defense and the scheme is so terrible that it led to wide open baskets because the other players weren't prepared or knew what to do when Nurk traps. So they weren't aware of where to be or where to recover to or whatever if he does that. So the fact is they have to game plan for him to do that. It can't just be him going off on his own. And this is not, I'm not blaming Nurk at all. He is showing them that they should do that, and that is absolutely 100%. He is in the right, Stotts is in the wrong, and Stotts needs to suck up his ego and just let them do an aggressive defense. Like, all these players want to play an aggressive defense. There's not a single person that likes just sitting back and letting a guy like come at them in the middle of the key and like have no momentum to like try to stop them or whatever, you know? So it's just, it's frustrating to me that we can watch someone who is as capable as Nurkic is of completely being a game changer on our defense, but us not having the right scheme to match what he can do defensively.
Mm-hmm. Tino says, I can't believe that Terry said Nurk stop. I think I heard him say that during the game. Yeah, I think I know what play you're talking about. I don't know if it was Nurk stop, but it was something along those lines. And it just, oh, man. I would rather have Nurkic be our defensive coach than Terry Stotts at this point. I mean, yeah. If we don't play more aggressive defense, I still think we're going to lose in round 1 and Stott's going to get fired for it. So we'll see. Yeah. Either he gives way to Nurk or he gives way to his job, potentially. Like that's his 2 options at this point. Sure, maybe we could still win and then he gets brought back. I don't know. I'm just saying. But just be more aggressive defensively. Nurkic can obviously play a much more aggressive scheme. He can hedge well. He can trap well. It might put him in foul trouble, so he may have to learn how to avoid ticky-tack fouls doing that. But give him the chance to learn. You know what I mean? Have him do it consistently. Other teams do it consistently with their bigs, and they don't automatically get into foul trouble. You look at AD in the playoffs when the Pelicans swept us. It's not like he was getting into foul trouble. We would have gladly, they trapped us constantly with AD, and he didn't get into foul trouble. If he did, we would have won that series. If foul trouble was automatic if you trap and hedge. So you got to give the Nurkic a chance to learn from that a little bit. But you take that risk. You got a guy, a decent backup center in Enes Kanter, and Rocco can play some small ball 5 too. So if he gets into foul trouble, he gets into foul trouble. Your defense is going to be better if you play more aggressive.
That was going to be my point. Is Kanter showed he played well without Nurkic in the lineup. We have the guys, so if some nights Kanter has to play 30 minutes and Nurk only plays 18 because he's in foul trouble, that's perfectly fine, as long as our defense is improving because of it. I mean, if it's a situation where we're always in the bonus or in the penalty and giving them easy free throws and stuff, of course, then you want to alter it and not be as aggressive at those moments for the rest of the quarter, and then when the next quarter starts, you can go back to being aggressive again. But yeah, it's just, I feel like we do too much. There's too much focus on if we pass the ball there might be turnovers, if we're aggressive on defense we might foul. I don't want to let that be the problem and then we'll address it if it becomes the problem. But you have 2 good centers, like you said. Rocco is fine playing the small ball 5. At some point, when it comes to the playoffs, you might even have a Collins back to get 6 fouls as well, and he's certainly capable of playing an aggressive type of defense and is more than capable on that end. And then I'd still think Giles, if given the right opportunity and was taught the right way and what to do in those situations, I think could be effective as well, especially if we're only talking about a few minutes a game. If someone's in foul trouble, and if not, we don't even have to worry about that option. So yeah, there's things we can do to overcome if he gets in foul trouble, considering we've just overcome several games without him even playing at all. So might as well get him into foul trouble if it means our defense is improving.
Yes, agreed. Let's move on and talk about Enes, who had 10 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 for 8 from the field. Didn't really have much of a positive defensive impact today. I don't know if it's seeing Nurkic back doing some of the things Nurkic does. It makes Kanter look worse. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about his defense. I mean, offensively, he had a solid game. On the boards, he had a solid game. But at this point, it just comes down to defense.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you think Kanter would just drop on his own?
I mean, he's obviously being instructed to do that.
Yeah. So I don't get it. You saw in the first half, it just time and time again, he's just way far away from the pick and roll, and they get an easy 3 out of it, and we just continue to do it with him. Let him at least fail doing it the other way, in my opinion. I'd rather have him fail not being able to recover on his man after trapping or whatever than failing just standing in the key, letting someone shoot an open 3. That makes no sense to me why you would just sit back and let him do that. I don't know. It's driving me crazy, and it drove me crazy in the first half, and I can't even I want to say his defense is so bad that you can't play him at certain times, or against this team might ought to have been the best player to play against, but like I can't even say that because we didn't even use him right. Like I don't know. It's like I don't feel like we're putting him in the position to succeed on that end. On the other end, I mean, he's been fine and he's been really good, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, scheme been a major theme this season. Will continue to be.
Yeah, like Gordon says, he doesn't go rogue. Like he listens to his coach. Unlike Nurk, he doesn't have the cojones to trap when he's not supposed to, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what to say at this point. I agree with all your sentiments about the scheme thing, and I really think it just comes down to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Enes 10 points, 8 rebounds. You also had Melo, who had a rough shooting night, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 for 12 from the field, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Really was pretty quiet throughout this game. He did play 28 minutes. Here's what I wonder, okay? If Derrick Jones Jr. had 5 fouls, so that's why he played 21 minutes, but Derrick Jones Jr. was playing terrific, right? If Derrick Jones Jr. wasn't in foul trouble, what would the minutes have looked like between Carmelo and Derrick Jones Jr.? That's all I want to know. I'm just curious about that. Okay, it would have still been Carmelo playing many more minutes than Derrick Jones Jr., even though Derrick Jones Jr. was playing much better than Carmelo. I don't know. It's hard to... That's something I wonder about. And it'll be interesting to see the minutes breakdown going forward now that you got Norman Powell, who can play some 3 and will likely eat into some minutes, and now that you got Nurkic back, so you don't have as many minutes for the forwards at center. You know, Covington is not going to have anywhere near as many minutes at center, which means a lot of his minutes are going to come from power forward. So I'm wondering how the minutes breakdown ensues on nights when Carmelo has it going and Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't. Carmelo's going to play a lot of minutes, right? And no complaint there. I'm just wondering if it's the other way around. Derrick Jones Jr. has it going, Carmelo doesn't. Is Carmelo only going to play 18 minutes, 17 minutes like we've seen Derrick Jones Jr. play? Or is it just Carmelo is automatically going to play at least 25 minutes a night, 24, 25 minutes a night, no matter how well he's shooting, no matter how well other guys are playing, that would eat up his minutes? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, we heard the comments from Olshey before the season started saying they're expecting him to play around 20 minutes, and the thought process is to help him stay fresher throughout the season versus last year where he's playing like 32 minutes a game. And I mean, I know we had the long gap, so it didn't really count, but like up until that point, you know, you could tell this guy's like 35, 36, 35 at the time, like getting big minutes. Like that's not necessarily the right way to use him. It'd probably be better in shorter bursts, which is another thing I want to talk about later. But overall, I think they'll be fine kind of limiting him to 20 minutes on games when he plays like this, and if he's playing well like he has been plenty of games recently, you know, you let him get more minutes. But I think overall not a good game from Melo, but yeah, this is not a good matchup for him. And I feel like we didn't do a good job of exploiting mismatches on that end. And he had a couple times where he posted up like Van Vliet or whatever. But other than that, this wasn't a good team to post up against when in like a Siakam or OG is guarding him. Mm-hmm. I didn't like, you know, the times they force fed him. I still want to see them get him curling off some screens into the mid-range shot instead of just straight posting them up. But other than that, not the best game for Melo. Hopefully he gets back to the way he had been playing in future games. But he was due for a bad shooting game, I think.
Yep. I want to look at his game log. Let me look that up real quick because I'm kind of forgetting his previous couple of shooting performances. I mean, he was shooting 39% from 3 going into this game, 42% from the field, still only 44% from the 2-point line. Still not efficient in that regard. I'm curious the month of March what he's shooting from 2 because it seems like he's shooting better lately. Let's see here. During the month of March, he is Great. I'm gonna have to do some math since it only gives me field goal percentage. Let me do the math on that real quick.
While you're doing that, so let me. Oh, I'm trying to find it in chat. Oh, so like Tanner mentions in chat, we did hear Stott say that he will play the vets and that the vets minutes are guaranteed too. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, like you said.
Yep. Melo is shooting 52% from inside the arc during the month of March.
Nice.
So see, if he's shooting that, like, he's been super efficient in the month of March. True shooting percentage 60%, 41% from 3, 52% from 2. I just don't expect that to continue.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see him still shoot a higher percentage of threes. You know, it's kind of like, it's funny. You see, like, Derrick Jones Jr. shooting more than 50% of his shots are threes, and then Melo, it's like only 30% of his shots are threes. It's just kind of backwards to me. I would rather have it the other way around there.
I agree. I love aggressive, like that play he had. He spins right to the middle and completely goes around Van Vliet and lays it in. That was great. Like, I wish he would just attack the rim more often, and that's what he was doing to get better efficiency wise. Was he was drawing fouls or getting to the basket a little bit on those, and then shooting threes when he's open, and that's perfect Melo in my mind. We can utilize that. But yeah, I don't want the possessions where you just post him up and 4 people stand around and he dribbles for like 5 seconds and then takes a turnaround 15-footer. Like, I don't think those are the greatest possessions for us.
Yep, agreed. Let's get into the final player, which is Anthony Simons, who had 7 points, 4 rebounds, and assists, 3 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from the three-point line. He only ended up playing... let me see here. He ended up playing 13 minutes tonight, so 7 points, 13 minutes, pretty good. He had a good run there. I think all of his points came at the start, either the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth, kind of right around that time. He had a 1-foot runner, which was nice. He had a pull-up kind of in the paint, and then he knocked down a 3. It was nice to see him actually get some quality looks attacking the rim a little bit. You know, he didn't necessarily get all the way to the rim, but... you know, last game, I think he was like 5 for 7 from the 3-point line, and he didn't shoot a 2, you know, which is cool to see. Obviously, we know he can shoot. It's just nice to see him actually be able to attack the defense a little bit. Also, 4 rebounds in 13 minutes is really good as well for him. Much better than the type of rebounding we got from Gary Trent Jr., who, believe it or not, had 7 rebounds today, Eric, in 28 minutes. Oh, would you look at that?
I was like, is he actually gonna double his second game in Toronto?
Yeah, he actually tried to rebound. But yeah, Anthony, solid performance tonight.
And so if we start Powell, it would seem to reason that Simons is going to get the first shot between him and Little at the playing time with the second unit, right? Because we're kind of missing that guard from the second unit unless you stagger him in a weird way. Mm-hmm. So I think, if he plays this way or like he did last game, this could be a situation where at the same point in the season last year, you saw Gary Trent take off and run with that rotation spot and kind of secure his spot in the regular rotation. And I'm not 100% confident in Simons doing that consistently, but if he keeps like showing just these little flashes and plays well in the 13 minutes or whatever he gets in a game, I think that bodes really well for our team moving forward. The more comfortable and the better rotational piece he becomes.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see. That's the thing with the Powell and starting lineup thing is we don't know. You know, Stotts made it sound like this could just be a one-off thing since he was playing the Raptors. It could be a situational thing. You know, he also mentioned that the Raptors are starting 3 guards, so he started Powell. You know, it could be a situation where if we go up against bigger small forwards, Derrick Jones Jr. starts. If we go up against 3-guard lineups, Norman Powell starts, which I guess would make sense. You want to talk about Trent and Hood, their performances?
Sure. Hood's eventually going to come out and not have the effects as much of his Achilles as he has this year. So there's a good player still in there. I don't think he'll ever be quite 100% the same, but he's certainly capable of the stretch he had in the first half where he gets an and one and hits a couple threes and everyone's like, oh, great. And I like his attitude. I don't like to hear this comment, but they'll miss me more than I'll miss them type of thing.
Yeah, that was obviously just a joke, man.
Yeah. So, but like from his individual perspective, I like that attitude of wanting to prove people wrong. So I don't have a problem with that, other than as a Blazer fan. But like,
I don't even think he like said it like he meant it to himself. Like that's even how he's thinking, honestly.
Right.
But he does need to have confidence, more confidence than he's played with this season.
But yeah, so it's good to see him playing and stuff. Based on this game, it looks like we're basically just reversing roles between Powell and Trent and Hood. They were coming off picks, and one of the threes Trent hit was off a double screen off ball. Mm-hmm. And Trent obviously didn't play well, but and then you look at our team and how we use Powell, and he was just camped in the corner most of the game and only gets 6 shots. Whereas how many shots did so Hood had
8, Trent had 10. They combined for 18 shots. Powell had a third of that.
A third of those two guys' shots. So yeah, that's not something I want to see, a trend I want to see continue. Obviously, Gary's a bit of a chucker, so he's going to get his shots up. I like that, Powell, I guess, wasn't forcing it, but he didn't even touch the ball enough to force shots, even if he wanted to. But yeah, so I'm hoping we just do something different so it doesn't look like, okay, all of a sudden now Trent is their Powell and Powell is our Trent, and that's all we use him as.
Yep, that's why I'm going to be watching what Trent and Hood do very closely, and then comparing it to what Powell does here, and kind of how their statistics might change in different situations. It'll be a good test study. But yeah, Hood definitely played better than Trent today, though, which 4 for 8 for Hood. He had 13 points, 2 rebounds, was 2 for 5 from the 3-point line, knocked down all 3 of his free throws, had a drive to the rim early on CJ. Trent 2 for 10. He struggled, 1 for 5 from the 3-point line. Also missed a free throw. Was 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Did have 7 rebounds though, which is probably his season high in rebounding.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I do not want to see Trent struggle. Like I really like Trent a lot, and Hood too. It'll be interesting though if he continues, because obviously his last few weeks here he was in a big slump, and if that, it's interesting to see how long that'll continue. Especially if he's getting some different shots or some used in a different way, if that trend continues or if he regains back to what he was shooting earlier in the season.
Yeah. I'm going to check his game log. Let's see. His previous career high in terms of rebound, or season high in terms of rebounding was 4?
5 or 6?
No, it was 6. It was 6. He had 6 against the Knicks. It was 6.
The game Dame didn't play.
Yeah. The next closest game.
Oh no, Dame played that game.
Yeah, I don't know. Trent had 6 rebounds against the Knicks. His next closest game, he had 4 rebounds. Was his next game high in terms of rebounding. So 7 rebounds is pretty impressive for Gary Trent Jr. I want to see last year. Is that a career high in rebounds? I feel like that's probably not. No, wait, I need to go to game logs 2019-2020. Good old Basketball Reference. He didn't have more than 5 rebounds in a game last year. No, he had a 6 rebound game. So Gary Trent Jr. set a career high in rebounds today. That's kind of interesting. Wait, maybe his rookie year, actually, on like the last game of the season, he might have had more. I'll go all the way back just to see if he set a career high for rebounding. In that game where he played 40 minutes. No, that game he played 48 minutes, the last game of the season against the Kings, his rookie year. Know that game?
Yeah.
He had 2 rebounds. So, Yeah, he set a career high in rebounds today with 7. So congrats. That's funny.
Yeah. The more I think about this, though, especially if we're able to re-sign Powell, I really like that trade. It's every time I think about it, I like it even more.
Yeah. Good job, Trevin. And then Mike B, why are you insulting Austin, man? Don't be insulting Austin. Also, don't be don't be weird. Yeah. Anyway, got clean up chat,
Yeah.
man.
And just for the record, Daryl used a word that's not allowed on this channel. So
like we don't even need to point that out. Just good job, Trevin. Just that's all I gotta say. Because I don't want to have to because that's the rub, man. Any slurs of any kind, automatic permaban from chat.
I just don't. Yep, I want that to be clear versus someone saying after the fact, like, "Oh, those guys just can't handle another point of view." It was because of what word you used, not what you were saying.
Yep, pretty consistent on that for sure. So, anyway, the Ducks are still playing right now. They've been struggling in this game, so that's tragic for you Duck fans. If you were taping the game and watching it after, which I highly doubt, because you can easily watch this post-game show after, so you wouldn't even be in here. But if so, then sorry for the spoiler. Let's see. We'll see if the Ducks can come back. They're currently down 14 with 18 minutes left in this game. Yeah, that wraps up the players. You want to go around the NBA? I can go around the NBA if that's what you guys... Yeah, let me go make this.
While you're doing
automatic.
that, go Beavers, Elite 8, baby.
Yeah. go Gonzaga, Elite 8. I have no excitement.
I know. Well, you're expected to be
I know.
There.
Like, if I were you, I'd be hella excited. But for me, it's just like, okay, cool. We didn't choke yet.
The Beavs have won 6 straight games, all of which they had to win against tournament teams. And if they lose any of those, they're obviously not here. So, yeah, that's crazy to me. It's so improbable that they're here still.
Okay. Houston has yet to face a single-digit seed so far this tournament.
I know.
They faced a 15 seed round 1, then they faced 10 seeded Rutgers, then they faced 11 seeded Syracuse, and now they're facing 12 seeded Oregon State. Just based off seeds, right? I'm not saying anything about the teams. Just based off seeds, this might be the easiest run to the Final Four any team has ever had. Because, oh my, USC. Oh no, Oregon's gonna lose. I'm just gonna say that right now. Maybe I jinxed them, but my goodness, the shot I got the game on my phone in the background. The shot I just saw was insane. But yeah, so Houston might have the easiest path. I mean, Oregon State could beat them. I mean, I don't know. They got to find ways to score. I feel like Oregon State will be able to defend it, but they got to find ways to score. I feel like that's going to be the big struggle for Oregon State in that game. But
absolutely.
But I mean, the fact that they're there is very, very impressive.
I was also worried about that against Oklahoma State and Chicago Loyola too, because they had a great defense and yeah.
As a Gonzaga fan, I'm worried about USC. A little bit worried about USC because I feel like matchup-wise, that's like the type of team that could give them trouble because they're big. Right, Gonzaga is the biggest team, and you got Evan Mobley, you got Isaiah Mobley, and they're playing really well going in. Mm-hmm. This might be the hardest game of the tournament for Gonzaga if USC can pull this out. This might be the hardest game of the tournament. I think that game's going to be close between USC and Gonzaga if USC wins this game. I would much rather have Oregon win. I think Oregon is a much easier matchup for Gonzaga. But yeah,
my Cinderella FSU team. That was my only way to win the bracket, and I think
that's tragic. See, that's why I picked Baylor.
Yeah.
I figured everybody was going to pick Gonzaga. So if Baylor wins, I'm pretty sure I win. I had USC in the lead 8, so this, USC winning this game will help me bracket-wise. Will basically put me in a position where if Baylor wins it all, I win the bracket pool. So hedge my bets on Gonzaga, but yeah, bro. Eric in chat. I've never seen a championship in anything. Okay? In anything. I will not be able to handle it if Gonzaga doesn't win a championship this year. Okay? And if any of you are like giving me crap on Twitter, I'm unfollowing you. I can't, man. Even if you're not rooting for him, just your boy needs a championship in something, okay? In something. I've never experienced a championship. And Gonzaga is so good this year. I need it, man. I need it. I would be so bummed if they didn't win a championship. Kyle Wilson says, Tori, come on, man. You've played Creighton, Norfolk State, and Oklahoma. Are you talking about me saying Houston has the easiest path? I was talking based off seed numbers, not specific teams. I prefaced that. I don't know what Kyle's necessarily saying. But, yeah.
Real quick, while we're talking about other things, I haven't talked to you about the 49ers trade.
Oh, yeah, getting the 3 pick. We going football mode on this channel?
I was just saying real quick, I was just curious your opinion.
If they draft, I trust them to draft the right quarterback. I'm tired of Jimmy G, so I'm not against it in any sort of way. I just hope they make the right decision. I feel like a rookie could come in there and do what he does. And then, maybe you have a guy sit behind Jimmy G for a year, and if Jimmy G is playing bad, then you play the rook. But then, going into next offseason, you cut bait with Jimmy G. You have a replacement that's probably going to be just as good as him, but making a lot less money, and then you use that money elsewhere. That's a W, in my opinion. Give up a lot, but I need to solve the quarterback position. So if you're not going to have somebody that's better than Jimmy G, at least have somebody cheaper. You know what I mean? With the chance of being better. So I like it.
Yeah, it's a lot to give up, though. I don't really like. I don't know. I'm hoping they prove me wrong, obviously, but I'm not super high in the quarterbacks in this draft, even though a lot of people are.
I don't know what anything. It's not football scouting different than basketball scouting for me.
Yeah.
But let's go around the NBA. You had 4 other games. There's 2 games going on right now that are of importance to us. The Nuggets are beating the Hawks 115-88. They are blowing them out. Aaron Gordon is making his first appearance for the Nuggets. He has 13 points, 6 for 9 from the field. He's wearing the number 50 because of the dunk contest, and he's making a documentary about himself called Number 50. Just ridiculous. Yeah, I'm glad that guy's not a Blazer. I don't even care. But that's a team that'll use him right. That's a team that will 100% use him right. And we want if he has big games, it doesn't mean anything to me because we would not have used him right.
His first play, he got a back pick with Jokic up top for a dunk. And it's oh man, that's not something we would have done with him. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's 1 for 4 from the 3-point line, only has 2 rebounds. Only played 21 minutes for them. Campazzo has more minutes than him. But Nuggets are going to win. I'm tired. Okay, I'm tired of being tied with the Nuggets, man. Can they lose? Please?
Well, they did all their losing earlier in the season, and we didn't get enough of a cushion. So
that's true. Oregon's coming back. I spoke too soon. I just jinxed them out of it. But other games you got going on right now. Lakers are leading the Magic at halftime 44-39. Hopefully the Lakers lose, okay? I would love to be tied with the Nuggets ahead of the Lakers. I'd be cool with that. The Lakers are 29-17. Obviously, they have some huge injury issues. Yeah. They're struggling with the Magic right now. Let me see if the new guys are playing. Yeah, the Magic are bringing Otto Porter Jr. off the bench, Wendell Carter Jr. off the bench. R.J. Hampton has 9 minutes. But still, it's a very, very bad lineup there. But, they're hanging with the Lakers, so hopefully they can beat the Lakers, because then we'd only be a half game back. I'll look at the standings in a second. And then the other game, which went final before ours, the Suns almost choked against the Hornets. Won in overtime 101-97. Was really hoping they'd lose this game so we could gain a game on them. They had 35 from Devin Booker, but he only shot 10 for 26. The Hornets had 30 from Devontae Graham, 22 from Terry Rozier, 18 from Miles Bridges. Obviously, LaMelo Ball's out. That definitely hurts them. But they almost got it done against the Suns today. They couldn't. So hopefully the Magic can help us out because we're not getting help from Eastern Conference teams with the Suns winning and the Nuggets about to win. So standings-wise, we are still 6.5 back of the Jazz for first. Denver will be 6.5 back with us at 5 and 6. We are currently a game behind the Lakers. So if the Lakers win, we'll be a game and a half behind them. If they lose, we'll be only a half game behind the Lakers, which will be nice. The Clippers are playing really well lately. They are 2.5 games ahead of us. The Suns are 3.5 games ahead of us. So we're only 3.5 back a second. Problem is we don't have the tiebreaker with Phoenix. That's why the game against them earlier this year would have been huge. Because if we won that game, Eric, we'd only be 1.5 games behind them with the tiebreaker. We'd be 1.5 games behind them for second with the tiebreaker. So just take a care, or maybe with the tiebreaker. I think it would be even with a chance at the tiebreaker. Right. With I think one more meeting, right? So then it would have turned into if we win that game, we have a great shot at the second seed, which could be a matchup against the Spurs at this rate. So yeah, really sucks that we couldn't take care of one of those two games, especially the one, our latest one. But overall, I mean, we still got a chance to get a top 3 seed. I mean, the Clippers, we got some matchups with them. It's just going to come down to, can we actually beat these teams? Can we beat, we have 3 more matchups against the Jazz, if I recall correctly. They're a divisional rival. We've only played once. I don't know. The schedule's obviously shortened a little bit. So at least 2, probably 3 more matchups against the Jazz. We got multiple matchups against the Lakers and the Clippers and the Nuggets. And I think the Spurs as well. So all these teams we have multiple matchups against. So it's just going to come down to, can we actually be a good Western Conference playoff team? Because we haven't done a good job of that so far this season. We're only 15-12 against our own conference. We are 13-6 against the Eastern Conference. Much better record. We've really struggled to beat legitimate playoff teams. The last, other than the Mavericks, who are the 8th seed, the last time we beat a Western Conference playoff team came all the way back on December 28th, 2020 against the Lakers. We only have 3 wins against teams that are currently in playoff position in the West. So that's what it's going to come down to. We haven't played a whole lot of Western Conference playoff teams. We've had an easy schedule, so it's just going to come down to, can we beat these teams in the second half of the season? We'll be healthy. We won't have a personnel excuse. We will have a good lineup out there on the court. Knock on wood. Hopefully something doesn't happen again, so I'll knock on wood to dispel the notion that I'm jinxing them. If we stay healthy, we will have a competitive lineup on the floor. It's going to come down to, can we beat these teams?
Yeah, and then one thing to keep in mind for all the people who are like, oh, look how good our record was without Dave and CJ or whatever. Well, you look at recent games, Miami's missing Jimmy Butler. Orlando obviously traded away half their team, and now Toronto tonight doesn't have Lowry, so it works both ways. Like, we're getting these wins now against teams that are depleted too. So hopefully once we start playing teams, we're fully healthy, and we need wins. There's no more excuses of injuries, hopefully, and we just need to flat out play better, especially against elite defenses, and hopefully we see that on the court.
Yep. So
shout out to Near012 for the $5 donation. Says, just saying what's up. Stay up, fellas. What's up, Near012? Thanks for checking in. No, we were giving you crap last time, but yeah.
How's the fiance, man? Hopefully she's doing well. Yeah, I mean, we basically got through everything post-game wise, an hour and a half in. Do you guys like the shorter, more compact, like to-the-point streams, or do you guys miss when we would go 2 hours? Let me know in chat.
I think the people that watch like it. If the people that watch it later don't like it.
The people that watch it later don't like it. I felt like the people that watch now don't like it. Like they're cold chilling for 2 hours, but the people that watch it after the fact want something shorter.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, you like inverted it. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I assume.
Real quick, let's just talk about Damian Lillard and this thing where he always has to play the first and third quarters. I don't get it. I was told by multiple people that Dame requests and demands it, and that coach just lets him do what he wants because he's Dame. I don't know where that narrative all of a sudden came from, or why he can't still play plenty of minutes, and why. Let me just say this. No player would ever... Yes, some players would be like, oh, yes, I want to play more minutes or whatever. But no player would ever say, I want to play this many minutes, and it better be the first 12 minutes of the game, and then I want to sit for this many minutes, and then I want to play from this time to this time, and then when in the second half I'm going to do this, and I'm going to play from this time to this time, and you better accept that or whatever. Like, Dame's not like that. He's not going to do anything. It's just like people making excuses for Stotts running this guy into the ground once again, in my opinion. And I don't like that all of a sudden you can't even comment on it without people saying, like, you don't want to upset Dame, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, he wants to play the whole first and third quarters. That makes no sense. Wouldn't you want to play the whole second and fourth quarters if you were Dame? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. I don't know. People are going to make every argument in the book, and I'm just over it.
But it's like, so I mentioned, like, Nurk is on, 5-minute spurt limit. Dame's battling a knee injury. Why play him 12 minutes at a time? Like, I know it might not matter what he does, but, like, you're just risking, like, the wear and tear on the injury. Like, it just, like, play him in shorter spurts, let him expend some energy, and then sit for a little bit, and, like, play him several, like, 5 or 6 minute spurts instead of having to play 12 straight minutes. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, do something different with your rotation until he's fully healthy, and we need him fully healthy. And we don't. I mean, obviously we could load manage him and he could miss games later in the season to get to that point maybe, but like, why not take care of it now so it's not an issue from this point moving forward, and clean it up, and then we don't have to worry about it anymore. I just don't get him playing major minutes when he's questionable to play, and he's obviously not moving right on the floor.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Surprise, surprise. East Portland is in a dire situation. Why is that? LaMelo. Stotts interview, I don't feel like ruining a win that I'm okay with a Stotts quote.
I did see a great tweet from Dwight Jaynes.
What was that?
We won, so he's probably not going to ask a tough question tonight. But well, he did say Blazers get their stops when opponents miss open shots. Doesn't have a lot to do with their defense. That wasn't the tweet I was referring to, but and then he also said, not sure it's going to matter who the Blazers obtain if they don't understand the importance of defending corner threes or keep playing drop coverage on pick and roll. It's crazy. Just a direct shot at the coaching.
Yep. He sees what we see. Nurkic sees what we see.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to like, okay, so we're like we're just slowly brainwashing this whole fan base, right? We've brainwashed Nurk, okay? We've brainwashed Dwight Jaynes. We need to find a way to get our way to Stotts, okay? We're making progress here. Once we get to Stotts, we will brainwash him and we'll win a championship. That's literally the only reason why I started the channel. It's the only reason. Just to try and get to Stotts.
Well, obviously Nurk hasn't been brainwashed yet. He's the only person who hasn't been since he's going rogue. And hopefully Powell doesn't get brainwashed now that he's here. But.
No, I know, that's a joke. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, seems like the only people that disagree with us are people that don't want to criticize Stotts.
Mm-hmm. Because
they like Stotts as a guy. That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
But those same people, like if you're like, well, what about bringing in a defensive assistant? Oh, that's fine. That's perfectly all right. Yeah, he should give up some control of the defense and let a strong-minded assistant come in. But they're not willing to,
Yeah.
to criticize like the actual defense that he's doing now. And like, why? So why hasn't he brought in?
And they won't criticize him for not doing it either.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
it's so. Shot near 0.5, or I almost said near 0.5 for the $12. Near 0.12 for the $5 donut. Dame just wants to win. He's the most unselfish superstar ever. If he needs to play strange minutes, he will. Yeah, exactly. He's not going to, oh, you subbed me out early in the first just to sub me back in earlier in the second. Oh, man. Like, bruh, people will just make up the most ridiculous stuff just to have an argument. And it's just like, I just don't.
Yeah, the same thing happened with me, and I got in a discussion with Jason Quick today about two-way contracts, and he's saying like, oh, the Blazers just don't value it and they don't care because they're never going to play, and they don't have time to develop players this year and all that stuff. So like I asked him, well, the other 29 teams don't feel that way. They all put value into it and have actually gotten several teams have gotten rotational players out of doing that. And he's like, so I'm like, so why is it that like every team, even good teams that are better than us, have two-way guys signed to two-way contracts? And meanwhile, we signed Blevins, who I guarantee you Dame would be loyal whether we signed Blevins or not, right? It's not like we had to sign Blevins or Dame was going to demand a trade, right? So, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And his only answer was, oh, I already answered that. And it's like, well, okay. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? But, like, it's just dumb that our organization doesn't value that. We could have had a guy like Moses Brown developing another season in our program and be ready to take off next year. But the fact is, with the way we are, we could have signed Lou Dort last year out of the draft as on a two-way, and he would have not played at all last year, right? And then he would have gone to OKC or whatever this year and been like a defensive stopper, even though our defense sucked completely last year. And people would just say, well, he wouldn't have been able to play here. We just don't have room to play a guy like that or whatever. And then like Stoss will just be given a pass for not developing him or whatever. And then they go to another team and they had an opportunity to play on that team. They wouldn't have gotten that here. Well, why not? Why not? Why didn't you develop Moses Brown? Why didn't you let him play and average 20 and 20 or whatever? Why didn't you re-sign him so he could have a game like that? It's the same thing with Giles on our bench. Like people always say, oh, he's lost, he can't play, or whatever. Like, why not? Like, give him some minutes and see if he can develop. What if he goes to another team next year and plays like Moses Brown's playing right now, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, well, he wasn't good. Like, he just wasn't cut it. We couldn't play him last year. Like, well, why not? Like, what's wrong with them? Like, why can't we play young players? Just because of their age doesn't mean they can't contribute. Same thing happened with Little last year at the points. You could have played him and developed him to a point where he was an actual rotational piece. And yeah, he got injured in the bubble and didn't end up playing, whatever. But like, I just don't feel like we're doing enough to find these guys. It's two basically free roster spots to locate and try to find diamonds in the rough. And it doesn't matter who cares if they don't make it, or they're not good and you pick the wrong guys, fine. But like, if you go like 10 years and you find one guy that ends up being a starter or a rotational place like a Lou Dort or a Duncan Robinson or a Kendrick Nunn or countless other players that have become that way, like, why not take that chance? It makes no sense to me, and I just got nothing but excuses about it. And we don't even have a G League team. We're one of the only team. I think there's only 2 teams now that don't have a G League team, so we're not developing talent that way either. It makes no sense to me.
Yep. Yep. I wish you'd leave out something that I could expand on, but nah, you cover all your bases all the time. Sorry. And I'm just like,
sorry.
Yep.
It's just, but like, yeah, I mean, I really like Quick, but like, I completely disagree with that, and I wish Twitter's not the best place to have that conversation. Of like, maybe we could try.
Man, what are you talking about? Twitter is the best place for having a cordial conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't like disrespectful or anything. It just, I mean, like when we're trying to have a conversation and you ask him like, well, why do other winning teams like, I mean, like the Lakers use both their two ways this year. Like, what makes them different? And then you get like, oh, I already told you. Like, okay, it's just, oh, all right, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you just need to be a better person, and maybe Jason Quick would answer your tweets, man. Right, Belgian?
No, he did answer him, but
Belgian, you got to be a better human too, man. And if Tanner's in here, he especially has to be a better human. Do you see what Tanner did? He posted, "You just lost to Damian Lillard" on the Raptors tweet, and so a pretty well-known person on Twitter was just there to tell him that he needs to be a better human. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
Does her name rhyme with Jimmy?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, it rhymes with Jimmy. It rhymes with Jimmy Bam. My goodness. So yeah, everybody just be the best humans you can be. I'm all for preaching positivity, but I don't understand when it literally comes out is you're a bad human, basically. I don't get it. But yeah, just be better humans. That's what we should all strive to do. And just be the best human being or robot you can be.
Mm-hmm.
So some of you won't get the inside jokes. But anyway, I'm surprised you didn't ask about the mangoes in chat.
I was just ignoring them.
I wanted you to be like, what the hell? But anyway.
I was following along in chat. I just thought it was stupid, so I wasn't going to pay attention.
Wow, man. All right, so that wraps up this post-game show. Oh, stupid,
I'm not falling for it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll come up with something better next time, chat. I'll come up with something better next stream for you guys Yeah. We'll come up with something better. We'll be better humans. We'll come up with better trolls, better jokes, better streams, better defense too, right? Yeah, that's the plan. Anyway, I don't know. Anything else you guys want us to talk about, or you want to talk about, Eric, or you want to sign off? We're at like an hour 40, which I feel like is a good time.
Real quick, let me just address Chris Stevens. He says, I think you're being a little unfair to Jason. I thought he strongly implied that there was no point in signing two ways the Stotts wouldn't play them. That kind of agrees with what you have been saying. But, okay, it just doesn't make sense to me. Who cares if they don't play? You have two chances to see a player, have them in your system, watch them, teach them, see if you can turn them into something. If not, like, you move on from them. But like the way two ways work, we could have easily forced Moses Brown basically back into a two way last year, or this year, and Jalen Horde as well. And instead, we don't use those positions. But those are two guys that were in our system. They could have continued being in our system. So you only get them for so long this year because you don't have the practice time didn't apply, because we already had them practicing and developing them. And then he says we wasted all these resources on them last year. Well, if you used all these resources on them, why didn't you continue that development with them this year? And then he said, well, they probably went to places where they had a bigger opportunity. Jalen Horde isn't even on a team right now, and Moses Brown, I'd imagine he signed pretty late in free agency on a two-way with OKC. I don't know what happened for him not coming to the bubble, but there obviously something happened there between the Blazers and him, and it was apparent we weren't going to re-sign him, but we could have treated that whole situation differently as well, and he could have came to the bubble and gotten a whole month's worth of practice and stuff with us and all that. So yeah, I don't know what to tell people other than I feel like it's just making excuses for them not taking advantage of this. This is coming from an Olshey guy. Like I like Olshey, so
we don't work well around the fringes of the roster. We don't like the 14th, 15th spots two ways. We don't develop guys like that. Miami would have made the most out of both their two way spots. You know, that's just the way it is. So yeah, there really is no reason not to use that second two way spot. Even Stotts not playing him, that's still not a reason to not use that two-way spot because, yeah, I mean, there just it doesn't cost you anything against the cap or the tax or, and sometimes you might need that extra body in practices. Like, there's no reason not to use that second spot, so it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, especially when you hear, they can't have a full practice because they only have 8 bodies or whatever. Well, okay, you have open roster spot and open two-way. You could assign 2 bodies or whatever to a 10-day or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
And for the record, we have 11 days to sign someone. We have a roster spot and have to do it.
Yep. Shout out Nurzer, 12, another $5 dono. He says, if we're so good at developing talent, shouldn't two-way contracts be our way to glory? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. But
Stotts is a master at developing players, right? So wouldn't you
he's so overrated as a player developmental coach.
But if that's your argument, wouldn't you want as many young players in our system learning under this absolute genius developmental guy, Terry Stotts, as possible, and teaching them the right way to play basketball? You would want as many players as the NBA allows on your team.
Mm-hmm. Belgian says, what type of guy you want for the open roster spot? Depends on who's available, honestly. There's really nobody that jumps out to me that I'd really want, so I don't really have an answer.
My answer is I want someone who is not going to demand a role or be guaranteed a certain thing, because I feel like our rotation is fine whether we get a buyout player or not. I don't want a guy like LaMarcus coming in and saying, oh, you better start me or you better play me 25 minutes a game or whatever. I don't want to give any promises to that. I feel like we have enough of that crap on our team already. So I just want a player who is good enough to play if we need him, but also not to the point where he's going to come in and demand a rotation.
So you wouldn't want Otto Porter Jr.?
No, I would want Otto Porter Jr. because first of all, I don't think he would demand a certain role or whatever, but I also feel like he's so good that wouldn't matter. So that goes out the door there. But pretty much everyone else, I kind of think it would be nice to have a third point guard for emergency situations, especially if we're starting Powell. We might need a ball handler like tonight when Powell gets in foul trouble or whatever. So there might be points where Dame needs a rest a game. We might need a secondary ball handler. But if you sign like a Jeff Teague or that's just a name that I'm throwing out there. I'm not saying to sign him, but if he comes in, I don't want him to think he's the backup point guard and is going to play every game 20 minutes. Whereas if he comes in as fine, not playing, and then when he gets his opportunity or whatever, he does play and plays well. I want that type of player. I don't want a guy who's looking for a certain spot unless it's a clear better player than what we have right now, and Otto Porter Jr. would fit that. He's one of the only guys who does. Aldridge did not, by the way.
Yeah. Jeff Teague would be better in the rotation than Anthony Simons, most likely. Would be better. So if we want to start Powell at the 3, then I would definitely explore Jeff Teague as our backup guard. Obviously, 10 minutes a game or whatever. I tweeted out a rotation that I would try if you're going to start Norman Powell at the 3 on Twitter. If you can look at that, just replace Simon's minutes with his. Otto Porter Jr. likely isn't going to get bought out, but if he does, that's the guy I'd go after. And I think you start Derrick Jones Jr. there, and you have a bench of Norman Powell, Otto Porter Jr., Carmelo Anthony, and Enes Kanter. That is the best offensive bench in the league by far. Defensively, Porter can defend, Powell can defend. Kanter and Melo aren't known as defensive players at all, obviously. So defensively, it'd be kind of but offensively, it'd be the best bench in the league if you were able to do that. So,
and since we have 2 roster spots, we're in a situation where we could just sign one person now and then keep that other roster spot in case we have an injury or something and need depth at a certain position, and then you sign that position. So it might still be beneficial to keep one of the 2 spots open. We have to sign someone within 11 days, but other than that, it might be beneficial to wait and see which position we need or how the rotation shakes out before signing that last one. The problem with that is the pool of players available gets a lot smaller the more you wait.
Yep. So, anyway, there's 6 minutes left to go in this Ducks game. I kind of want to watch the end of this.
Is it getting close?
Really, Tory what, King? It is 11-point game. Ducks are on a 9-0 run the past 2.5 minutes. Oh, you mean really, Eric? I don't know why you saying really, but
who knows?
Oregon is not a poverty program. That's what you're spamming "Hey Tori" at me to say. I don't like the Ducks, but they're not a poverty program. Trust me. The Oregon Ducks are the furthest thing, actually, from a poverty program, if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what King's saying, really. Really, Tori, I mean, really, Eric.
Yeah, come on, Eric. Shake my head.
Is it because I'm not like, oh, we didn't sign Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. We're so screwed. Oh man, what are we gonna do without those guys?
We're a poverty franchise.
The Nets get everyone good. Super team.
Yeah, you have to have 14 players on the team, King, so we do have to use that. Like, that's a requirement by the league, so we do have to sign somebody at some point to a normal roster spot, basically. But
That's right.
Belgian, why are you asking me what I'm going to do if the Zags lose? I don't want to think about that, bro. I talked about this earlier, man. Were you not in here earlier when I said, bro, I need a championship? This is maybe the best chance at a championship I'll get in... I don't know. Who knows how long? Like, this is the best chance I've had at a championship in anything. Like, I want to feel what it's like to have my team win a championship in something, because I don't know what that feels like. You know what I mean? Yeah, so asking me what I'll do if they'll lose is kind of not cool, man. I don't know. Yes, I will be extremely upset. Yes, I'll rage, bro. I'm not going to rage on stream, but I will rage off stream if that happens. Shout out Zach, a.k.a. Westbrick, $2 dono. He says, Oregon a poverty program compared to 2021 Beavs. Yeah, that's right at this point, because the Beavs are in the Elite Eight and the Ducks are struggling. They haven't given up a point in the last 4 minutes and change, but they're still down double digits. So... we'll see if they can complete this comeback. They've cut a 20-point deficit in half, basically. They're down 11 now. But it's going to be a tough task for them. Tough task. USC's kind of just taking the air out of the ball right now and can't get a good shot. Yeah, just shot a shot off the top of the backboard. Yeah, so anyway. King says Suggs. I don't know the context behind the comment.
Who knows what King's saying right now?
Yeah, come on, Eric. Oh, he said Suggs is good earlier. Okay, yeah. So, anyway, we're going to wrap up the stream. We will catch you guys again tomorrow on Blazers Uprise Live. When do your Ducks play tomorrow, Eric?
My Ducks? That is highly offensive, bro. I'm so mad.
When do your Beavers play tomorrow?
My Beavers play at 4:15.
Okay, so
might want to maybe just start at 3:30 or a little before for the show.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
Yes. When's the other game?
It's after that at 6:57.
Okay, yeah, we'll go live like around 3-ish. That's the plan.
Okay.
Around 3-ish. If we go live around 3:30, it will be a shorter stream. Basically, we'll be off air by 4:15 because Eric's Ducks play tomorrow.
What's funny is their first game of the tourney when they beat Tennessee. The color commentator, so the whole game, you know, they're talking about Beavers and stuff, and then at the end, he said like big win by the Oregon State Ducks, and I'm like,
Oregon State Ducks, bro. Yeah, if Oregon could just take care of business in this game, there would be 3 Elite 8 teams from Oregon and Washington.
That'd be crazy. Northwest running things.
Yeah, but Oregon is struggling right now. But you will automatically have 4 teams from the West Coast. UCLA made the Elite Eight. They beat Alabama, so you have 4 teams from the West Coast. The West Coast has been struggling in recent years, but back at it today. or this year. The Pac-12's been great, and Gonzaga is Gonzaga. So, should the Blazers trade for Evan Mobley? That's not going to be possible unless they trade Dame. So no. Anyway, let's.
For the record, there's 11 games tomorrow.
Okay, fun. I'll do those the night before.
Since we missed Thursday, I feel like that's kind of...
Yeah, I'll do those the night before. So anyway, that's going to wrap up this stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, the Blazers take care of business against the Raptors and move to 10 games above 500 for the first time this season. They are now at 28-18. Their next game is coming up on the 31st, which is Wednesday. So they actually have 2 days off between now and the next game. That game is going to be coming in Detroit. That's a 4 p.m. tip-off time, Pacific Standard Time. The Pistons are a team the Blazers should beat. They would give them a 4-0 road trip. No, we went 500. We could be satisfied when they played a Miami team missing guys. They played a Toronto team missing Kyle Lowry. They played the Magic before they got their new guys after they traded their old guys, and they played Detroit. That's a road trip they should go 4-0 on. They have the chance to get it done on Wednesday. So that will be the next post-game stream. Blazers Uprise Live will go live between 3 and 3:30 Pacific time. Tomorrow we have 11 games for picks against the spread, so definitely tune in to join us for that. And you can join in and make fun of my 0-9 record on last Monday's picks against the spread. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to it. The link is in the description below if you want to subscribe. So anyway, that wraps this up. I'm going to keep the outro short. Anything you want to sign off with?
No, thank you everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. These streams have been a lot of fun lately, and I hope everyone has a good night.
Yep. Quick 5-minute ban for Westbrook saying our channel name wrong. And with that, we're out of here. We will catch you guys tomorrow. And if not, hope to catch you on Wednesday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.